What's up, everybody? It's Chad from Ask Chad Grassy Logic. We're here again on our 5th episode of season 1. I'm here with Rachel today. She's my special guest. She does insurance in the cannabis company, the cannabis industry, excuse me. Her cute little wave distracted me for the second. She does cannabis insurance for the industry, and I wanted her to come on and talk about it. So without further ado, I'll let her introduce herself in today's episode.
Yes, I'm Rachel, and today's episode is Rawsuits and Outlaws.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yes.
And go ahead and tell people a little bit about yourself. You know, where you're from, you know, what you do and all that. And then we'll go in and start asking about cannabis insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm born and raised in El Paso. I've been doing insurance now for 6 years, maybe a little bit more. And right about a year ago, I got the opportunity to work in Las Cruces.
Nice.
And maybe about, I'd say, 2-3 weeks into my new venture, they gave the go that we would be okay to sell cannabis insurance.
Okay.
And that was it. That was like a perfect little, I knew I was in the right place. I'm like, these are my people, like I got this, you know? So, so no, it's been a lot of fun. Definitely. Yeah. It was a good change. I mean, insurance can be kind of boring, but I think that totally has launched it into another direction. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been, and it's been great knowing you through the industry too, because I met you through the Southwest Trade Association meetings.
Yes.
You know, that's how I met you initially. And I actually gave her a piggyback down
I was going to say, are we going to say that?
Yeah. I gave her a piggyback down a hill because she was in heels.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, she looked like she was about to fall. I was like, yeah, let me help you down here.
Yes, that's
exactly
right.
That was our first interaction. It was really hilarious. And, you know, like your personality in the industry and everything, it's great having someone from the insurance side that is actually part of the community. The cannabis community. It's not just someone in a suit and tie saying, I'm just trying to sell insurance. It's like, well, I'm part of the cannabis community.
Oh, absolutely.
I love cannabis and everything, you know,
yes,
obviously.
Absolutely.
And it's been great to see that. So to educate, you know, the listeners and everybody watching, and, you know, some people maybe, you know, who have businesses, what is cannabis insurance?
So it applies pretty much as a standard company. You have a barber shop or a shoe shop or, you know, a restaurant. Your general liability is covering a third party. Anybody who comes in invited or uninvited, they fall, hit their head, they need stitches. That's your general liability.
Yeah.
Covers the exact same way in cannabis. There's not really too much different in the business insurance of cannabis other than the product itself. Yeah. So those questions start getting a little bit more intense when it's manufacturing or growing. You know, the questions start to change on, you know, what the risk is, of course. Yeah, that's insurance is the risk.
Nice. And like normally, what do you guys like, or what does the cannabis insurance cover? Does it cover the product? Does it cover just the building?
It will cover what it is that you need. So some people that have, they've bought their building to grow or to, you know, manufacture, what have you, just like your house, you want coverage on the building, you want coverage. And then it's the inside of the 4 walls. If you're leasing, well, you don't have an interest in the building, but all your belongings, all your business, personal property is. Yeah. So that is definitely covered the same way. I'd say the only challenge, or one of the more challenging things it's to cover has been outdoor grows. Okay. And I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. I mean, we're at the mercy of Mother Nature. Yeah. Even though we're in the desert and we don't suffer as much, you know, weather atrocities, you know, we still get cold for being in the desert.
And hail does, you know, wreaks havoc on plants. You know, that will just shred it and turn it into Swiss cheese.
Yes.
I've seen it myself. It sucks.
No, and greenhouses too are kind of like on that fence because, I mean, depending on what it's made out of, it's like, what are we really insuring in that case?
So the whole act of God clause kind of comes into play.
Correct. Or we'll insure, for example, the structure, but not the cannabis inside of it.
Got it. Okay.
Kind of things like that. But each carrier is different. Every underwriter is different. So that's part of the insurance, is me going out there and quoting it with different people based on what you're needing.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because it's not like a one size fits all. I mean, everybody has a different stake.
So you've been able to go see some really cool grows then.
I have. It's been fun. Everything about this has been a lot of fun. I mean, from the people, from the experiences. The grows, I don't even feel like I've seen as many as I would have that I'd like to see, quite honestly. It's been, but yeah, no, it's fun, like looking at it and hearing the way they do it and how and why, because they have their own techniques and different. It's cool. I learn something every time, without a doubt.
That's great, and maybe you'll start growing yourself too. Well, if you move to New Mexico, that is. Do you still live in El Paso?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, for the fact of being a cannabis user,
Well, that is a really, I do think about that all the time on my drive to and fro, because I'm like, over here, like having, smoking a pre-roll or whatever, I get pulled over for a light that's out.
Yeah.
My car's gonna reek, like stuff like, so it's I have to be careful coming back and forth.
Yeah, and for the listeners and everything, she lives in El Paso, Texas, which where we're at in this area, I'm 30 minutes from Texas. Actually, I'm like 20 from the border. So there's a lot of Texans that come here for cannabis. Actually, I think 50% of our sales, if not more, come from the Texas residents.
Yeah, I would say more.
Yeah, if not more, come from the Texas residents, and some probably from Juarez too. But
oh my gosh, for sure.
Yeah, the Juarez residents as well. Within 60 miles of Las Cruces, there's about 3.3 million people. Just in the radius of, Cruces and that, because of Juarez has over like 2 million people or something crazy like that. And El Paso is well on its way to be a million, people city too.
Oh my God.
And so it's just increasing.
And the military with it right there.
On top of it. Yeah, that's a huge base. And, I was actually on that base a couple of weeks ago getting some groceries, and it's getting huge.
Yes, it is. Big. It's spreading.
Yeah, and so I guess we'll move on to keep talking about insurance. Don't want to get too far off track and get too. I just thought it was really cool that I was like, oh yeah, you get to go see a bunch of cool grows then.
Yeah,
that's great. I love seeing grows. So how has this side of the industry really been treating you? Like, have people kind of welcomed you with open arms, or have you been like, oh no, it's the insurance lady?
I hope that's not the impression I give.
Oh, you don't, which is great. Some people, you say insurance and they just run.
Yeah. No, I'll be really honest with you. I think for me, the most challenging part coming from El Paso, and I do come from 2 big families, and it was getting to know people in Las Cruces. Like that was probably the biggest hurdle in my head. I was like, if I can make the contacts, if I can meet the people, I can do this. And I have been. I feel like everybody has really welcomed me with open arms. I don't really have ever felt, outcasted or anything like that. It's been interesting meeting different personalities, men and women. It's been a lot of fun. I feel like I've been treated pretty well.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I mean, you're a great person. You're really nice. You're sincere, really and you really do want to help in the industry. And and it shows. And so it's great that people are treating you that way. I just didn't know if people were like kind of like, oh, I don't know about this insurance. Insurance
if anything, I have been flat out asked, like, why would I get insurance?
Well, let's go on that. Why would you want cannabis insurance?
I do feel for the people that ask that with a lot of assurity are probably okay enough to take the hit if they had a total loss.
Okay, that makes sense.
That kind of is like my reading on the person, quite honestly. If they're like, I have another 1.5 mil in the bank, like what are you going to offer me? Well, I mean, then maybe I don't have anything if you have that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In other cases, some people don't want it and need to get it because now they are starting to try to get, banks and accounts and do these things. So they have to have it per se. Same back to the building. They got a loan on the building. They're like, no, we want to see some insurance. So it is to protect you on that end. Sometimes just simply because other people are requiring it.
Yeah.
But it is making sure on my end that, if something should happen, that you're paid out the way you should, get you back to where you started, if not damn near close.
Yeah, because we're pretty used to in the industry that we have to take care of everything ourselves. We don't even get tax deductions on the business. So I think that's another mindset, coming in, because it's so new. In New Mexico, we're taking such a progressive role in the industry. We're adding banks, the actual real physical banks in New Mexico that will bank with the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
And we have a few in the state, a handful, and especially actually a couple in town.
But even then, the waiting lists and stuff, and
the restrictions, the red tape. But, it just leads up to, well, now you need insurance, and so that it opens the door to that. But now your butt's covered a little bit more, because now you don't have to think about, well, now I got to cover this. I got to save this money on the side just in case this happens. Well, if you have insurance, that's one less thing that you have to worry about in the cost.
Yeah.
And it's one less thing you have to worry about in your mind. So you can be that owner that you want to be.
True. Yeah, no, for sure.
You can focus more.
It's totally based to kind of go off of that. I mean, even workers' comp, workman's comp insurance. Obviously, in New Mexico, because it's not like this in Texas, if you have 3 or more employees, you have to have workers' comp.
Oh, that's
so so yeah, any dispensaries or any part of the cannabis industry, if you have 3 or more employees, you have to have workers' comp. So it's just another thing of insurance and I've gotten the feedback. Well, so if they get hurt and they get tested and they have cannabis in their system, like where's that? But from what I've been told on my New Mexico Mutual people is that won't count against them, considering this is the part of the industry. Anything past that, well,
okay, that makes sense. And I see it's kind of fair.
I would say so too.
I think that's fair.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah, there's give and takes in the industry, guys. We got to really, be happy we got what we have.
Yeah, be as limber as we can, I guess.
Exactly. And so, when do you think the businesses are really going to start to get a little more serious about the insurance? Specifically here in New Mexico. Nationwide, it'll probably take a little bit longer because they're not on the same path.
Mm-hmm.
Some states are, some aren't. But how long do you really think here they're going to get real serious about it? And just be like, we actually need the insurance, and we can.
I feel like it's already happening.
Okay.
I feel, and it kind of goes back to, like I said, it's different people are requiring it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that alone, they're just like, whether they like it or not, and whether they can self-insure or not, it's like, we need to see that you're covered.
Yeah.
So I would say it's maybe at a snail pace. I mean, we're not even at a year yet.
Yeah.
So yeah. So for being short of a year, I feel like it's slowly, it's not a snail pace, but I think it's picking up pretty well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And here in New Mexico, the industry is really starting to pick up, more rapidly.
Yes.
The snail's starting to pick up a little more, some boosts.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, a couple of boosts here and there.
Mm-hmm.
He had some Red Bull. So what are some resources people can use that, some of the audience and maybe some of the owners, what are some resources that they have at their fingertips, aka the internet, can they use to find insurance companies, some information on it, and where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can find me. I do a lot of my on my Instagram, and it's Rachel Raquel is my handle. And other than myself, I know that there are a couple here locally. We have a hub that's pretty much like a 1-800 call center.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of take myself away from that I just give a different personal experience, but that works for some people.
Okay.
So that is an option. Definitely, the underwriters I work with are from Colorado, California. So sometimes it's even reaching outside of New Mexico, that somebody that still that's where I'm getting a lot of my experience, is all the people that have been doing it. So yeah, I think there's quite a few places you can definitely Google up or find me.
Okay, find you. And I don't know if our producer can do it, but do you want to leave your socials or anything, or maybe we could put it on the screen or something?
Yeah, the one Rachel Raquel is the one I use the most.
One at one Rachel Raquel.
Sorry,
at one Rachel Raquel. So that's going to be the Instagram and everything. So make sure you guys give her a follow, Rachel Raquel. I mean, there's two.
There is two.
There's two of them.
That's a different kind of podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you guys give her a follow and everything if you're more curious about the insurance. Maybe you need it. Maybe you've been flirting with the idea and you just need a little bit of a push.
Or just more information.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe you just need a laugh. You should put some dank memes sometimes.
I have my moments.
Exactly. So I really appreciate you being on the show with me, Rachel, and it's been a pleasure having you on. So we'll just go into the regular episode now. So that way we can just get on with the Rawsuits and Outlaws.
Rawsuits. That was very, very clever. I loved it.
I appreciate it. And you guys will see later on the episode why I said that. Some of you who are very informative in the cannabis industry and everything that's going on, you probably already know why I'm saying that. So hang tight and we'll talk about that. First, I really want to get you guys in the know of what's going on with our legislature right now. There's a few bills that are in, and actually total, if you type in cannabis, there's 29 bills when I checked before the show. So at the time of recording, to my knowledge, there's 29 bills that have cannabis in it whatsoever, cannabis involving it. So the one I really want to mention, and we've already talked about this last week, I talked about this, it was HB 233, and that's RLD reorganization. They're just, putting RLD where it needs to go and taking some things away from them, what they're going to do and this and that.
Okay.
But at the bottom of that, they had where they wanted to add compliance officers, but they're going to be peace officers. So they'd be police officers, but they were doing compliance stuff and only for the alcohol and cannabis industry. Right. I get it. And so
Okay, I'm trying to follow. I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
And so there would be compliance officers, like literally police officers. And so they would have the authority to go and arrest, charge, et cetera, et cetera. However, during the week, it had its first hearing and it didn't go well. So they ended up taking that out.
What guidelines are they gonna do this?
Yeah, and I'm like, this just doesn't. I don't know how well this is
That's
gonna
right.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it didn't go well. And then once it got into committee and they were talking about it, even the director of RLD was like, yeah, you know what? Now that we're like pretty much saying this out loud, there's more components to this. It's a little more confusing than it should be. Blah blah blah. And I kind of feel personally that would have been the wrong direction to go in both industries. You know, like we already have components that are regulatory in our industry, and there's already people that do that job essentially. There's no reason to put a badge on them. You know, like if it's really that bad, then they can contact the police and the police can handle it because they have the evidence. So yeah, I mean, what do you? Yeah, you know, so I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Well, this is new to me. I'm learning it as you're telling me, but yeah, no, I don't think that's right. And almost like side joke would be like, did they hire them like these, like the IRS rejects or something? Like what's going on? Why are they doing this? Like they're going to come out with something out. No, that's kind of strange. I don't know why that would even be proposed.
Yeah, I don't either. And, you know, it was kind of odd to read it in the bill. I think it's a Republican-led bill. I think that's who the sponsor is. I'm not saying that Republicans are going to do that, but that's, you know, I'm trying to give more information on the bill itself. And it did read a little more conservative than another bill that would be written by someone else or even bipartisan.
Okay.
It didn't seem like a bipartisan bill to me. It just because kind of one-sided.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so they actually went on with the bill, but they removed that component. So the RLD, and it didn't look terrible, to get me wrong. Like the reorganization of RLD didn't look bad. I was like, okay, that makes sense. You're just doing it. But once you got to that last paragraph, you're like,
the print even got smaller.
Yeah. It was like she was sitting there with the magnifying, max out my, Control Plus.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm glad they moved on without that component of it and they took it out. So that's good to hear. So a lot of people, if you're relieved, I'm glad because I am too.
Yeah.
Especially being in the industry and everything and people trying to get more involved. It's kind of like, I don't know if I want to get involved in New Mexico if they're going to have the police involved like that. Because some people in the industry are really afraid of the police still, and I understand. I get it. We came from an illegal industry.
No, I mean, I just mentioned coming back and forth between El Paso and Las Cruces. It's totally.
Yeah, totally. And right now, there's a lot of companies moving into New Mexico, so we don't really want to ruin that, by making it crazy.
No.
So that's pretty much all that, Bill. I just wanted to give you guys an update on that because it did have its committee hearing this past week. It passed the committee hearing, but they did take that component out. One thing I did want to mention is out-of-state cannabis seems to still be an issue in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it lately in Las Cruces. When we first opened up shops and everything, it was all over the place. The CA little logos and still the packaging, and you could tell it wasn't from New Mexico.
Here. Yeah.
Or even flour. It's like, I think this is from here. There's certain shops that opened up, and then next thing you know, they had a bunch of flour out of nowhere. Like, oh yeah, we had a grow that was successful. We're like, how were these 10-hour plants?
Yes.
So yeah, you have people that did that, and so it's a real issue, and it's becoming an issue because we don't want. And it's not. I shouldn't say it's becoming an issue. It could become a bigger issue because once you get the federal government involved, then you kind of put a damper on your industry.
Oh yeah, and California has been taking huge hits. I mean, for different reasons, but
definitely. And once you do that, you're kind of on the radar. And we're not back in the day where they were just doing this to everybody. Like you have to really mess up for them to come to you, because there's so many states that are legal now that it really only makes sense that they would go to someone really messing up. So they're just trying to mitigate that.
Okay,
and doing interstate commerce in that sense is really going to have them to come crack down. And so it's not allowed in New Mexico. I mean, obviously,
I
that
didn't
too.
know that. Mm-hmm.
So if you guys aren't aware, in New Mexico, we don't have interstate commerce, and I don't think any state has interstate commerce.
I was going to say, does anybody?
There's talks, and actually in our law, it allows us to do it if two governors agree. But that hasn't happened.
Okay.
But and also the component in it has to be, I think, once the federal laws change. Okay. So I think there's still that component. That the other step of it has to be federally legal, and then the governors have to agree, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. But that could change. I think there's a couple other states talking about just doing interstate commerce and saying screw it, because you have California that they can produce a lot, but only 70% of the state sells it. you know, so there's a lot of cannabis that's left over that's not being sold, and that's why the black market is so crazy. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons why
Right.
Black market is thriving, but that's one of them.
Yeah.
You know, and so that doesn't help.
No insurance.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay for insurance.
Exactly.
I'm following.
Oh no, I totally get it. That's great. Yeah. So yeah, got to get that insurance, guys. We have the insurance lady with us, so I mean, what do you expect? But yeah, so guys, stop selling out of state cannabis if you're doing it. You know, if you're doing it, just stop, please. I get it, but at the same time,
I don't really know why you'd want to, though. Like, I really don't see that side of it. I mean, all the people that because of course it's still small and it's like, you know, local cheese man or whatever, but it's like, why would you want to? Like, we work so hard. I mean, even though I'm from Texas, but we're all working so hard to make it where it's at. Let's keep it here. Let's make our growers thrive. You know, I mean, especially now. I mean, everybody's had their first harvest. You know, everybody's, you know, it's better to keep it local.
No, I agree. And, you know, a lot of people have been giving props to our local micro producers. So shout out to the micro producers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You guys are doing your thing, and hopefully you guys get those 2,000 plants and not just 1,000. So yeah, shout out to them, because, you know, some buddies of mine have been coming to the state, you know, they drive through or something, and like, yeah, dude, I kind of feel like there's a lot of craft cannabis and everything. And I'm like, yeah, you know, there kind of is. You know, the big cannabis you'll find pretty much everywhere, but the craft cannabis, it's kind of tucked away. And actually, I went to a dispensary in Anthony, and they had some really fire craft cannabis from local, and I was really impressed.
Very cool.
So yeah, I was like, wow, this is really great to see. You know,
yeah.
And, you know, I'm like, I'm glad that this is happening. So, but yeah, but let's move on from the podcast. You know, I just wanted to touch base on that, guys. Just mentioning that it's still an issue, and if it becomes more of an issue, the federal government will come in and we'll have a black eye in the industry. We don't want that. So yeah, you know, slap on the pee-pee, whatever, but just stop doing it. Oh my God. So moving on with it, I wanted to mention that Twitter is actually going to allow cannabis ads. So they allow cannabis content, but now they'll allow straight ads.
I even liked the ad they used to do it. It's did you see it?
No, I didn't.
It's the Twitter bird, but it's out of like resin or rosin. I'm sorry.
Oh wait, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
And that's actually what that was clickbait for me.
Oh yeah, I totally.
I was like,
100% industry, 100%. And so that's great, and it could be game changing for the industry. You know, maybe more people will move to Twitter. I use Twitter very lightly for information. I get decent information from there. I used to get better information, but I get decent information from there, pending the source. But we'll see if more people move. I don't know. What do you think? Like, or
I'm not a big Twitter user.
Yeah.
But I do know that, I mean, we do need more social media platforms that are open to having cannabis being displayed as part of ads or just regular pages, you know, for businesses and so forth. That social club that was started by Burner. He's a rapper.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay, yeah. So he
follow me on that.
Yes, I have. Same at
Invader Kush,
at
same
one
thing.
Rachel Raquez on Burner. On Burner on the social club. But yeah, I do feel like we do need more social media platforms that are accepting of it. So if Twitter's on board, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because, you know, I thought it was bullshit that, you know, Facebook and Instagram, they're, you know, kind of cracking down on people. I'm like, why don't you just allow it where states are doing it legally, you know, instead of just doing it? Because that's kind of what they're doing. There's, of course, caveats to it. They must be properly licensed. So you must have a license. You can't just be like, oh,
as far as like Twitter guidelines.
Yeah, Twitter guidelines
for
an official ad. Yeah.
Okay,
you have to be officially licensed. So I don't know how they're going to make you provide that. You know, send your license in, whatever.
I'm sure,
Have connect with RLD. I have no clue. So that's going to be on that side. this is the information. It's only going to be where it's legal. So, you know, where states are operating in this manner is the only places where they're going to allow it. Kind of like, so Apple allows cannabis apps or apps that, you know, have cannabis in it in states where it's legal, you know, medically and recreationally. So if you're outside of those states normally,
yeah.
And so that's kind of what they're doing. They're locking it down, and they're targeting only 21 over people. In my sense, that makes sense. Here in New Mexico, it doesn't, because you can be 18 with a medical cannabis card.
Touche.
So you have states like that. However, I get it, 21 and over, you know, just target that age group. It makes it easier.
Yeah.
But, you know, you have instances where, you know, you have 18-year-olds in a medical cannabis program and they're smoking with 21-year-olds. So you have those instances here in New Mexico. But yeah, so I thought that was really cool. I mean, do you kind of feel like, you know, that's kind of like a,
yeah, I think that's really fair.
Yeah, I do too.
No, I think it's a fair start. I mean, especially, we are still facing the stigma, right? We're still fighting it, and we're still So, I mean, I do think that that's a fair compromise, even if, I mean, because let's be fair, we were smoking before we were 21.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, if we need to guideline these people, I mean, they're going to find it where they want to find it. So,
yeah,
I feel like that's a fair guideline. It's a fair start. I'm excited to see what some of these ads are going to look like, though, because I mean, we've got some creative people in our industry that, yeah, it's going to be fun to look and watch.
I do too. And you know what? Something could change from this and, you know, start something brand new. You know, we don't even know in the industry. So we'll see what comes from it. I'll keep an eye on it for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on Twitter all the time looking up for information. So we'll see what happens. I just try not to engage on there whatsoever.
I think I'm on there maybe twice a year. I'm really not on there very much.
You know what? Most of our representatives in the state are on there. And so like they post on there and I'll tag them on posts and everything. Yeah. So most of your representatives in the state, if you really want to see what they're doing and what's going on and really connect with them, it's on Twitter. It's so weird. I know, I get it. But yeah, you know, a lot of the representatives, that's one way that, you know, I've been able to connect with them and contact. So cool for Twitter. Good for you guys. You know, I know there's a lot of controversy going on. You hate it. You love it. That's your opinion. This is just what's happening, what's going to be going on. So furthermore, I think it's a positive thing for the cannabis industry. They're getting an actual real platform
for sure
to advertise other than the Ask Chad Grassy Logic here in New Mexico. So they're getting another platform that they can use. So good for them. So moving on, I really want to talk about a couple more bills. This one right here, it's HB 313. If you're in the industry, you've been watching and everything, or you're an advocate, it's the Cannabis Nursery License Bill that was introduced, I think last week or the week before. I just wanted to update everybody. It hasn't had a hearing yet in its committee, and it's in the House Government, Elections, and Indian Affairs Committee. Long name, so you can't miss it. But it actually is scheduled for the 18th, which I think is in a couple of days. Today's
the day after tomorrow?
The day after tomorrow, yes. So 2 days from now, they're going to have the hearing at 1 o'clock or 1300 for my military time people. And you can watch it online. The nmlegis.nm website is actually a really good website. You can watch it there. And I think it's .gov, sorry, nm.gov. And you can watch webcasts there of these hearings. So you can actually watch them live.
Okay.
And, you know, you can watch them later too, but you can actually watch them live. I do it all the time. It's like my football season. And so I'll be for sure watching this one, and I'll be, you know, tuning in to hear what they have to say.
You said those letters like on point.
I'm on there a lot.
Yeah, I got that.
It's like, oh, wow, he's there a lot. So I just wanted to update you guys on that one. What's going on with HB 313. I already told you who the representatives are, or the sponsors of that bill, where they're from, etc. on the last episodes. So if you want to hear that, jump over to the last episode and check that out. So moving on, we're going to go to HB 429. Now, this is a new one, and it's called Cannabis as Contraband in Corrections. So if a lot of you don't know, here in New Mexico, our people that are in state prison and jail, you're allowed to have medical cannabis if you have a medical cannabis card. That's actually in the bills, in the law. And so they haven't really tested it yet, I don't think. And I think this is just closing some loopholes to it, because maybe some people were kind of using what's written in the law to get around things, to bring it into prison and stuff. And, you know, to kind of,
well, that was going to be my first question. I was like, when did they start doing this? Like, what the hell? Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I can't tell you what prison, jail, or whatever is allowing, you know, their inmates to have medical cannabis. And I can't tell you. I have no clue. I didn't even think to look that up. You know, maybe next episode I'll update you guys on that. If I can find it.
That's really interesting.
I would really like to know. And, you know who's doing this, and, you know, what issues they're running into, because maybe there's issues that I am not aware of, or maybe the industry.
Honestly, I feel the main issue right off top of my head is like some of these people are fucking serving time for cannabis, and you're just going to let them smoke it while they're in here.
Yeah, it's like kind of BS,
a little,
right?
I think that was my first shock. Like, really? Like, oh my gosh. And I would say that's for me, just as an outside perspective, I'd be like, wow, that's crazy.
No, it is. And when you think about it, you're like, what? But I just remembered that there is a bill that's going through the legislature right now that's aiming at kind of fixing our expungement, you know, kind of making it less red tape. You know? So maybe those people that are smoking medically and they're in jail for it, maybe they will get out soon, you know, because that's the way it is here in New Mexico. If it's nonviolent, and I think it's only for paraphernalia and for possession. I don't think it's for like selling.
Okay.
Yeah, distribution or anything like that.
Okay.
So keep an eye on that. You know, if that does affect you or someone you love, you know, keep an eye on that bill. That might, you know, help them out in the long run. You know, I don't think anybody should be in jail or prison for cannabis.
110% agree. Yeah.
The guys who, you know, did sell it and got popped, they're just entrepreneurs. Just
Oh,
entrepreneurs that
yeah.
didn't pay their taxes.
I have said that not too long ago, just with in my line of business as well. I'm like at 110%. Everything that I learned from hustling came from real hustlers.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, they're the ones who really know this industry and really know how
Mhm.
to move a product and really how to sell this, you know, to people. So, you know, I applaud them for
And make a
finally getting
profit.
into the industry. Yeah, exactly. And how to make a profit. So moving on to this bill real quick, that's pretty much the meat and bones of this bill. It just makes it illegal also to bring any kind of cannabis into the jail or whatever other than medical cannabis.
Right.
So they're just kind of clarifying on that, and I think just closing a loophole. This one was introduced by Representative Martin Zamora. He's a Republican from District 63. He's a representative of Curry, De Baca, Guadalupe, and Roosevelt, and San Miguel. So our representatives in New Mexico sometimes represent several counties,
Okay.
not just one. And then the other one would be Andrea Reed. She's of District 64. That's Chavez, Curry, and Roosevelt. And so if these are your representatives, you're for it, you're against it. These are the people that you probably contact. However, if they're not, you just contact your representative because they'll have a vote and a say on it, and they'll let you know how they feel. And maybe something that you have to say could change their minds. To me, this doesn't seem like a terrible bill, really. You know, it's just really closing loopholes. It's introduced by Republicans, and some people are like, oh my God, it's a Republican bill. But to be honest, this really just doesn't seem too bad.
It seems progressive,
It
quite
does.
honestly.
Yeah, it seems very progressive, especially for the industry.
For what
It's
it
just
is, yeah.
closing loopholes and clarifying. And, you know, I didn't see anything in the bill yet. I didn't, you know, read thoroughly through it, kind of like I did the other bill, and I caught that one caveat, you know, where they're going to add police officers and inspectors. But so far, it doesn't seem too bad for the industry or anything. I don't see anything wrong with that. But I do really want to figure out what jails and prisons, you know, are allowing their inmates to use cannabis. Maybe I'll make a couple calls this week or something. Or
that would be really interesting. I'm so curious. You're educating me a lot today.
Appreciate that. Yeah, you've educated me, so I'm just returning the favor. You know, educating me on the insurance and stuff. So if you work at a corrections facility somewhere in New Mexico and you allow medical cannabis at your facility, reach out to me. You can be anonymous. You know, I'll just, you know, speak in that sense and everything. I understand, you know, jobs and sensitivity and all that. I'm just really curious of who's doing this in New Mexico, because this is a very progressive thing that we started that I'm not sure that has been really implemented or used. Yeah, has been used by anybody. So I'm just curious. So if you want to reach out to me, you know, on my socials, whatever, and yeah, we'll have a cool conversation and we'll talk about this because I'm really curious. So that's pretty much the meat and bones of that one. We'll move on to HB 418. This is called Cannabis Regulation Act Changes. Now this one it's kind of a small one. There's stuff already mentioned in other bills that's in this one. And I just wanted to mention it because it was new. It was one of the ones that was just released, so it hasn't had a committee hearing or anything like that. These last two ones have been new ones. And this one is introduced by Christine Trujillo. She's a Democrat of District 23, Bernalillo. Tara Lujan, she is a Democrat of District 48, and she's from Santa Fe. We have Joanne Foray. She's from down here in Doña Ana. She's a Democrat. She's actually my representative here in the city. So she's one of the sponsors of the bill. And then we have Deborah M. Sariñana. I had spent all night trying to say that name.
Very nice.
So she's a Democrat, District 21, and she is from Bernalillo as well. So these are the sponsors of the bills. If they're your representative, this is who you contact. If they're not, just contact your representative. So what this does is it makes it illegal to make so under the bill, there's a part where it tells you can't make extracts, you know, in a certain way, blah, 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 volatile solvents. Well, they're adding a clause in there that's going to add where you can't make synthetic THC. So the Delta A's, the Delta O's, the HHCs without like a license. And so I guess some people were making, Delta 8.
So they were doing.
I guess it was happening. So I had no clue that, you know, that was the issue. So what it does is just makes it unlawful to make it yourself without having the proper license, because it is a little of a complex process from what I've from my understanding.
Yeah.
You know, it could just be simple as some other ingredients, but there is a lot of a chemical process that goes to it.
Right.
And, you know, if you don't have the correct knowledge, you could end up hurting yourself, someone else, or, you know, getting sick.
Okay.
So that makes sense why they're doing that. It's not just like straight cannabis or, you know, blast and wax, just putting it in a tube and, you know, all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bro. No, yeah. So it's a little more complex. So this bill makes a little more sense to me. I do feel that the Delta 8 and the CBD derivative THC psychoactive compounds did need to be regulated because they were running amok. You know, they're unregulated. They were here and there. You weren't sure if it was good, if it was bad.
Well, I mean, I stopped getting THC pen cartridges for a long time just because I didn't know. I mean, prior to New Mexico going legal, there would be some that I'd look at it and be like, oh, I don't, never mind, you know, and so I can just imagine. I mean, I'm glad that they're cracking down on that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the Delta 8 industry has kind of just been going crazy all over the nation anyway. And I read on an article that the federal government now is saying that, I think it might be the DEA or the FDA, is saying that Delta 8 is illegal and it's not part of CBD and hemp. So we have a different kind of ruling from them. We'll see what happens. I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits. It'll probably go up to Supreme Court. Maybe it'll just go up to
a Rawsuit.
Oh, a Rawsuit. And you know what, guys? We're going to be getting into that here very soon, actually. I just wanted to touch up on this 418 real quick and just kind of give you guys an idea. They're going to have the division or the CCD or RLD, they're all within the same one. They're going to have them do training for employees and everything as well of like retailer establishments, you know, they're just like the effects of cannabis consumption. But what they want to do is also have them put signs up that says that cannabis may cause adverse effects, you know, this and this with pregnant women. And they want them to have it in the sign right in the shop, like at the front. That's one of the things they want them to do. And they want their employees to be trained by 2024 and 2025 for all this to be done. And so that's what else is in this bill. And I didn't want to like forget that. I was like, oh, wait, there's some more in this bill.
No, you're fine. I just saw a moment. I had to go for it.
Oh, no, definitely. You know, that's what this show is about. You know, talk about what you want to talk about. So, especially when it comes to cannabis. And you're particularly cannabis. But yeah, I mean, the bill itself, to me, it doesn't seem that bad. The whole warning of consumption of whatever, it's normally on the labels anyway, you know, like, or, you know, at least make it where they have to put it on the label anyway. Right. I don't see a reason of having to put that in the shop when you walk in. You know, most people know that if you're pregnant, you probably shouldn't be smoking anything. You know, that's usually common knowledge. However, some people don't adhere to that at all.
Right.
You know, they don't care, you know, even if that sign is there. And I think the sign is just to cover our butts.
I think so too.
Less federal intervention is, I think, what that is. We'll see if it sticks. These last few bills I've talked about haven't had a committee hearing or anything, so they haven't had any changes or nothing taken out like that one bill I talked about. Okay. So we'll see what happens. This could change. None of these have passed. None of these have been signed. So none of these are going to be law yet. So keep that in mind if you're listening. Don't freak out if, you know, there's something in here crazy that you just don't agree with. You know, that's how it is. So that's all I'm going to touch base on 418. You can find all these bills on the NM Legis website. If you guys really want to read into them, they have the HTML one. Click that one, and that's the one that you can control find on. And that way you can just type in a word if you're looking for something, it'll just pop up. The other one doesn't do it, makes it harder. So if you just do the HTML one where it just does it in a browser, it makes it a lot easier. Went nerdy real quick.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I'm impressed.
I have my degree in IT, so we'll move on and we'll talk about the Rawsuit, the elephant that's in the room, because it's part of the title. And I want to talk about this because it's significant to the industry. I use raw. You know, I see most of the people in the industry have raw. You go to a smoke shop, you're probably going to see raw of some sort. Mm-hmm. You're going to have their pre-rolls. Maybe they use raw for the pre-rolls. Maybe they have papers. I have some right here. And the reason why I have it, you'll see in a minute. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is actually Raw lost a Rawsuit. I don't know, it was either last week or it's pretty recently, and it just came out this week that they lost the Rawsuit to Republican Brands or OCB, and they're actually known as Big Tobacco.
Right.
And they lost the lawsuit because I guess they were making claims that weren't true or were found to not be true. Now, this isn't me saying it. This isn't the news saying it. This is what was found in the court of law. So there was a court in Illinois, and a judge that came down and said that Raw can no longer make certain claims about their company. I have them right here. It's a huge list.
Yeah, it's a long list, actually.
Yeah, it's huge. It goes on almost 2 pages.
Yeah.
So the first thing, it's permanent. It's an injunction in a federal lawsuit against HBI International, who is the parent company of Raw and everything. And they can't make certain promotional statements. Now, I want to make one thing clear, guys. If you like Raw, if you hate Raw, if you love the owner of Raw, if you hate the owner of Raw, that's just your opinions. You know, I'm probably going to smoke Raw still. You know, it's not a big deal to me. A lot of companies have been found to have misleading, you know, stuff when they make claims. It happens, or maybe they just kind of stress the truth a little. I don't know. To me, it's not a big deal as a consumer. Some other people, it may not be a big deal. And some other people, it may be a huge deal. Maybe they have, a big deal with the company. They have something against them. That's on you. So what the court found through evidence and everything that they bring in, because when you kind of go to court, guys, you have to bring evidence. There has to be evidence. It can't just be a claim. Will the company, go back to court for this? They might. They might appeal this decision and they might go back to court. I don't know. But as for right now, and it's being, as I speak, already changed. All of the labeling and everything is being changed as we speak. I went to the website earlier and it's changed. So they can no longer, let's see, the rolling paper has been barred from suggesting that the products are made by artisan craftsmen in Alcoy, Spain. They also can't claim that they contribute its proceeds to a charitable entity, foundation known as the Raw Foundation. So the court found out that it didn't actually exist. Again, due to public opinion, some of you may say, yes, it does. The company is still claiming it does exist. They have donated millions of dollars to, organizations, whatever. This is for you guys to decide if you believe it or not. The court, however, is saying that the company doesn't exist. They could have donated to something else or put it through somewhere. I have no clue. I feel that this is only the beginning.
Well, I was kind of waiting for you to say, and you haven't said it yet. So the person, who was the name that you gave about the big tobacco?
OCB, Republican brands.
Okay,
Republic brands.
They tried buying Raw.
Yes.
Some couple of years back.
Yeah,
and were unsuccessful. And from my understanding, it was like in the discovery of that, where he was trying to buy it and he learned everything that is on this list.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, no, we're still not going to sell to you. He was like, all right, fuck you guys. I'm going to fucking throw you into the bus. Exactly. I think that's kind of what happened. But I don't know. I do feel like it's just the beginning. That's what I was going to jump off of.
No, I love the fact that you brought that. I forgot to put that in here. And I'm glad that you brought it up because that is true. They did try to buy Raw a few years back and Raw declined over and over and over. And it said, no, we're going to remain independent. And, good for them. They didn't sell it to,
they're
to
right.
them. Good for them. That's cool, if they wanted to stay in. However, that's what they found out is about all these. And guys, if you don't know, Raw actually owns a lot of companies that are under them, Juicy J's, Elements, and other brands that, that you probably have used in the past. Raw or, HBI owns them.
Yeah.
And the owner of Raw, he's talked about it openly on all of his social medias. He'll show you and everything and even give you historical facts about it. However, there's people who don't like the owner. You have Berner who has an issue with him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has an issue with him. I was watching a really good documentary that just came out yesterday from LMC. He's a YouTube guy. And he does really great cannabis documentaries. He did a documentary on it. It was really informative. Now, again, it's to your opinion.
Where did you get to watch it?
It's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Just check it out on YouTube. Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, watch it. It was really good information. Most of my information came from the news, but most of his information came from the news. However, he did dig in more, of course. He did more research, and that's how I found out that him and Berner had an issue. So Berner has a rolling company or a paper company too, and he's claiming that the owner of Raw, Josh, made it harder for him to get into the industry, and so that was his claim. And so you have stuff like that kind of coming up. And, things like that.
Okay.
So this lawsuit, it gives them a black eye. I don't see it like giving them a downfall to ending Raw.
Yeah, no.
They're too big right now to become that. I mean, they're rap songs all the time. They're pretty much in every dispensary in America.
Yeah. Even clothing.
Yeah. Yeah, every dispensary and pretty much every smoke shop. You can't walk into a smoke shop and not see Raw
products. Yeah, for sure.
So, and they're getting free airtime right now because we're talking about it, but this is significant for the industry.
So Raw.
And the reason why I'm talking about it, guys, because they have already changed their packaging. And I went to my local smoke shop just right down the street from my house, and I picked up some Raw stuff. And I did it for two reasons. One, for the show, so I can show you guys what's changed. And two, because these aren't going to be around for much longer, labeled this way. So they're going to become a rare item, and they're going to become a collector item. And so that's one reason why I bought these. So while you can go buy these, because I did hear that they're recalled.
Yeah.
So some smoke shops and dispensaries will be sending these back. So you may want to go do this yesterday. So I just wanted to point out, and I looked today on the website. If you look on Raw's website, they have changed their labeling. And so right now, right here, it says natural unrefined rolling papers right there. They're not allowed to say that anymore. That's out. However, this little logo right here, this is still there. And all that says is all natural fibers unrefined. And I think the unrefined part is still on there, and I think it may
It
not be on here, or
hits.
is it on there? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
unrefined.
right
So
there.
they're not allowed to put that on there. And actually, I do believe they did put out
I mean,
unrefined.
they have like that little poem or something on the inside. Well, it's not a
Yeah,
poem, but I
you
mean,
can show the
it's
camera.
yeah,
There you
that's
go.
it right there as well.
Cute little poem. And so a lot of the stuff they can't put on there. They can't even put made in Spain. They can't mention Alcoy, Spain, or Alcoy itself at all on the labeling. So they've put that out. They can't put the birthplace of rolling papers on there. They can't.
Wow, I didn't hear that one. The
Yeah.
birthplace of rolling
Yeah,
paper.
the
I read
birthplace
quite
of
a bit
rolling
of them. Maybe I
papers.
didn't read them all.
Yeah, yeah. And then the owner of Raw can't make the claim that he invented cones, like the rolling cones, like the pre-made cones. He can't make that claim anymore. And then I don't think you can put the Pierce natural gum. I think that's another thing they can't. So this labeling, guys, is changing, and it's already changed. And I have here some tips. I have some tips as well. So a lot of this is going to change. Let's see. The one that's actually going
I've
to change.
never seen these. I'm like obsessed with the fact that it has this little. This is cool.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what smoke shop to get it to after the show.
Okay.
It's a local one.
I'm all
It's like, "Loo-loo-loo." But I want to show you guys this one. So this right here, this little logo thing they have right here, that can't be there anymore. And I believe it's already removed on the new ones. And this is a really good big one because this one comes with the tips and the papers and everything and the little cool little packaging and their pre-made tips. This package is going to change too, and it already has. And so it's just an example of.
I mean, I guess they were due for rebranding a little.
Yeah, I don't see
not?
anything wrong with rebranding. I mean, these were just claims that were made by the company, and they just were found to be through the court of law not true. Now, if it's your opinion that they are true or aren't true, that's all up to you. I'm not saying I believe it. I'm not saying that it isn't true. I'm thinking that this is just the beginning to this, and there's going to be more that's coming out on both sides. Maybe we'll find out some more information, or maybe we'll find out something else. However, this is just the beginning, and I don't see this going away. Yeah, I don't see this going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, it became personal, and so now it's one of those huge things. So yeah, that's it for the Raw thing, guys. I mean, there's a lot. If you want, I can get you guys links or something to the articles. I have a whole page here of like all of the stuff they can't make claims on anymore or whatever. I'm not going to go through it. I don't really see a point of it. We're almost. Yeah, I was like, it's so much. You guys are gonna get bored and go to sleep on me. But yeah, I think it was interesting to see the lawsuit, and it was interesting to see truths come out.
Yeah.
And companies make claims like that all the time. Like, oh well, it is made here, but we source it from here. And,
right.
Because they did say that, well, we get our fibers from France, and then we produce it in Spain, and this and this and this, and they can't even make the claim that they use wind power to make their papers.
Wow.
Because I guess that was another claim they made. I didn't even know that one.
Man, they really threw all his secrets
oh man,
out,
there is just everything. So I guess that now that you're telling me that through the process of them buying it, this is probably where they got all the information.
I'm guessing so.
They probably visited.
He was like, I got the cone idea from some guy in Thailand, blah blah blah. Like, he's like, that's a lie, right?
It's not.
You will not tell people.
Yeah. So.
Nothing like tobacco products fighting for the truth, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Like tobacco products being true to its consumers. Wow, the first time in history, right? Yeah, we're gonna see that again. So guys, yeah, keep that in mind. I just want to give you guys all the facts. The people who did sue them, they are considered big tobacco. And it's a cutthroat industry. The cannabis industry, even on this ancillary side of just papers, it can get really ugly, as you guys can see. So just don't feel bad if it got ugly for you guys, because even these guys who make paper that you smoke go through hell.
Yeah.
And it's just showing you that this industry, it affects everybody, on all levels. And that's why one reason I want to talk about that too. But that's very really cool. All I have for this week. Do you have anything else for the lovely viewers for us?
Not much. I was really excited to come on here, and I'm glad I did, and I've learned a whole lot. So
awesome. I have too. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on again sometime. Maybe you can give us an update.
For sure.
Maybe some more stuff changes. I don't know. Maybe insurance gets cheaper. I don't know. Or maybe it gets maybe laws change or something. We have to talk about.
Well, I mean, I'm following as much as I can, but the fact that they change so periodically, it does make it hard to follow sometimes. Even on back end, like learning new things that come up on the insurance side. So yeah, it's always learning, always moving forward, always adjusting the sales and keep it moving. Keep it
Nice.
floating.
Yeah, and that's how it goes. Well, I appreciate it, guys, and
Thank
appreciate
you
you
for
coming on the
having
show again.
me.
Yeah, I can't wait to
Yes.
have you on again.
Yes.
So yeah, guys, follow her again. The
Yes,
people
you can find me on Instagram at @1RachelRaquel.
There we go. So we got her plugs on there, guys. Make sure you give her a follow if you need the insurance or if you just want to see some dank memes. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week, and we'll have a new show for you guys. So thank you again for joining me on Ask Chad Grassy Logic on this Rawsuits and Outlaws.
Yes.
Shoots.